Hello, hello. Welcome to Beautiful Minds podcast. My name is Jamie Taylor, and this is Season 2 Mobile Edition, where we meet with our guests in different spaces. We have the pleasure to be here today with the most beautiful Des. Would you mind introducing yourself to?
Absolutely. Hey, friend. Thanks a lot. Because we're not just, on here not knowing each other.
Right.
My name is Des. Most people know me as Des. I can go by either Deze, which is my Nigerian name. Shout out to us Igbos. We're here based in Houston, Texas. That's where I was born and raised. I am a yoga teacher now. My main residency being at Lifetime, Missouri City. I also teach private lessons for people of all fitness sizes. So if ever you want to just try me out one time, just let me know. I could get you into my guest pass.
Nice. Well, you heard it. So we're here to talk about a couple of topics. The first topic that you chose was healing through storytelling. Fill me in. What made you decide to talk about that today?
So this year, a big thing that I've learned was healing through vulnerability. I'm someone, I don't know how familiar you are with astrology, but being a Capricorn and going deep into my chart as well, I have a lot of issues with having walls up. My whole life, I would deal with a lot of things by myself, feeling that I didn't want anybody to feel pity for me. And that actually did me more harm than good, I realized later in life. And so I realized, being a yoga teacher, how important it is to just be truthful about who I am as a person and how much healing I can bring other people.
Absolutely.
And that is storytelling, right? Telling my story, being proud of who I am, where I come from, the good, the bad, the ugly, understanding that it all worked together for the betterment of me in the long run. And so I think it's important for everyone to tell their stories. When we do that, we realize that we're not alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always say vulnerability is the birthplace of connection, right? It is a risk that we take every single time to allow ourselves to be seen fully. And you want to do that especially with those who are worthy. So kudos to you for having that willingness to allow yourself to be seen. Is it just as healing for you as it is for other people?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So I will say that I'm still a baby in the yoga world. Although I've practiced for the last 10 years, I've only been a teacher for only one. And it took a lot for me to even jump off the porch, so to speak.
Yeah.
I've been sitting on my certification for 3 years. In fact, this very room is where I fell in love with what yoga means. So shout out to Lifetime Sugarland, very special place to me when it comes to our yoga department. And in doing that, it took me a while to feel ready to be a teacher. I used to talk to you about it a little bit too.
You did.
All the things I felt like I needed to do to feel ready.
Right.
Like, it's one thing to get a certification, right? But yoga is not just a physical practice.
Right.
It's a way of life.
Absolutely.
How do you treat the elements around you, even down to the smallest of animals?
Right.
Do you respect it? Do you honor your body? All these things were important to me. I found fasting to be a very humbling experience, which I practice dutifully to this day. And these things have helped me, one, to understand the world around me better. I feel like I've become, one, more emotional, in tune with who I am really. I've found the answers that I have been seeking for so many years. And when I came to fasting, it actually made me more vulnerable. It can be very, very difficult to fast, not just the food aspect and going without, but what it does to the mind.
Right.
And are you ready? Are you comfortable to go that deep with yourself?
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you're able to then understand things,
Right.
and then share with your community what you've learned. So now when I'm looking at a room full of 46 students eager for me to teach to them,
Right.
I realize that they're looking for that vulnerability.
Absolutely.
How can I showcase to them what they too are probably feeling inside? Because I talked about loneliness a little bit just, a second ago. Most of us feel like we're alone.
Yeah.
And it's a very crazy experience to think that. But when you realize somebody who doesn't look like you is sitting on the other side of the room meditating, holding a yin posture, and they're crying about the same thing as you, you realize, okay, the world is much smaller than you think, and maybe we can be together on this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're all living, breathing beings, feeling beings. I think a lot of people, it's interesting that you referenced being a Capricorn and maybe distancing yourself from emotion.
Yeah.
I always tell people, you don't want to be reactive. If you kind of avoid them or stuff them down, then you're increasing your probability of being emotionally reactive. So go through it. They're like water, if you push it away, a bigger wave will come.
It's got to come back.
Right.
It is never going to go away. Whatever that problem is, sometimes there's things that I'm dealing with now that I realize I have been suppressing, well into, since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm finally getting those answers now. And it's a beautiful thing.
It's beautiful.
You realize the entire time, wow, this is the moment that I was supposed to earn that and learn that. It's just like yoga. Something I always notice with the students is ego. They see the person next to them, quote unquote, perfecting these poses, doing so well, being elegant on the mat. They don't know that person's story. They don't know how long they've been practicing, the painstaking hours it took into that. There's certain postures, I just told you right now, I've been practicing for 10 years. That one, I finally got into this year.
Yeah.
Or two, I'm still working on.
Right.
And to me, that symbolizes who we are as human beings.
Right.
The story of your own life.
Right.
Understanding that even though you want something now, it might not come right now.
Absolutely.
It comes when it's meant to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so...
Absolutely. I had to learn that as well. Some of you guys know, if you really know me, I am extremely competitive. So yoga, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yoga has really taught me to just go within, connect with myself. I also love yoga, which will segue into our next topic in terms of self-care and cultural perspectives really on self-care. And to me, yoga, when it comes to self-care, I'll rewind. It's important to take care of ourselves physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, personally, and professionally, right? And the biggest complaint I hear is that, we don't have a lot of time. But what I love about yoga is in that 1 hour, it takes up multiple different categories, right? So it takes up, to me, the physical, the psychological, the emotional, spiritual, and if you build a network, the personal categories, all in 1 hour, right? But going back to that topic, what made you choose that topic as well?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I'm Nigerian, and I don't want to speak to just the Nigerian community when I say this, but culturally, Black people as a whole, understanding that we're not a monolith and we come in so many shapes and sizes, one thing I notice about us, regardless of our cultural background, is we deny ourselves a lot.
That's true.
In so many aspects, we've been taught to have death to self, focus on your kids, focus on your husband, focus on other things, maybe focus on work and getting this money.
Yep.
And we're dying at an earlier age. We're experiencing health issues that could be avoidable if only we take a moment to sit back and realize how to help ourselves.
Right.
I know women in my family who are dealing with back issues, and when I'm like, oh yeah, just do yoga, over time it could get better, they're even afraid of the idea of pursuing that, because you're just like, where do I start? What do you mean? What does that mean?
Right.
Because there's a lack of education about what it means to take time out for yourself, and when you do for you.
Right.
But when you do for yourself and you're self-aware about the issues that you have, understand that it makes you a better person to be better for others.
Absolutely.
And it's a trickle-down effect. And one thing that was important to me when I first fell in love with yoga was that I wanted to be that representative so other Black women specifically can feel comfortable with someone who looks like them coming to their class.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've noticed abundantly since the 1 year I've been teaching. I'm seeing all Black women of all shapes, all ethnicities, feeling comfortable because they see a woman who looks like them, teaching them this important field in which has been, and you can call it infiltration and concentrated as well by, white women being frank. When you see the aesthetic of what yoga is, it honestly doesn't look like me or you.
Right.
And I'm here to combat that. I want people to know that they can feel comfortable here, because who introduced yoga to me was a high school friend of mine who is also a Black man.
Wow.
Who is honestly, once again, not the original aesthetic of what you think yoga is, but he made me feel comfortable being in this yoga space.
Right.
And I was like, okay, it's time for people who look like me to come into this space, because it's not just for, I don't want to walk away with this information and not be able to help others. Because not everybody is like me. Not everybody feels comfortable taking up space in a room full of others.
Right.
They might be too shy. They might feel judged.
Right.
So when they come into my room, they're like, oh, wow, you're playing my kind of music.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you talk just like me.
Right.
Okay, well, maybe this isn't just something that's for them. And so I'm here to take up space in that way. Understand that both women and people of color, you don't have to feel slighted or feel like this is not something for you. And whether it's yoga, even in like on a very basic level, when I'm going into spas, I don't see people who look like us, because we downplay. We're like, oh, we don't need to do massages. We don't need to go and get this self-care. Like, that sounds silly. You're being frivolous, or you just have extra money, And I'm just like, no,
Right.
no, you needed to, just like the person next to you needs it. We all need to take time out for ourselves, because in a way, we're all dealing with different demons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think even going back to, cultural perspectives, right? I think a lot of times we can be achievement-based, productivity-driven, right? And a lot of people don't understand, if you want the capacity to achieve, you've got to take care of yourself. Like, there's no way around it. You can't go above it, below it. You got to go through it.
Yeah.
And so another thing I usually say in therapy as well is, an awareness plus a willingness to be uncomfortable is what equals growth and change, right? So once you're aware that you're in need of self-care, and that is something that can further propel you towards your goals, towards your values, right? You have to have that willingness to be uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And I appreciate you being in this space, in this very room, because you made me feel comfortable.
That's what I meant.
I mean, exactly. And I was like,
yeah. Oh, no, it's such an interesting phenomenon, and it still happens to me. You don't walk in a room and it says yoga teacher on your head, like you walk in a room and everybody is on the same level, and so as class progresses and you're making all these moves, especially as a seasoned yogi, people around the room are like, who is this person?
right.
And, there's a part of me that's also sensitive to energies as well. So at first you can kind of feel, a weirdness about it. Like, oh, who is this girl taking up space in what we consider our community? And by the end of class, those walls are broken down and they're coming up to me like, girl, you did the damn thing. Like, can you please teach me? Or like, and I have to like have them understand like, hey, I am a teacher. So like, don't compare, but at the same time, yes, I want to be able to knock down those stereotypes of us,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want you to understand that like, whatever you think of us is not true.
Right.
We all come in different shapes and sizes.
Right.
We can and we will, do what we can to overachieve in any space that we're in.
Right.
And it's not just for you.
Right.
Yoga's for everyone. It's healing is for everyone.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun, to be able to be that person.
Yeah.
Even in my YTT, I was the only Black woman there. And that happens a lot. You become the representative of your entire community when you're in these spaces, and I just want for other Black women who look like me to understand that they are welcome,
right?
Not everybody has that ability to be like, yeah, I'm taking up space, and it is what it is,
right?
But if someone goes before them and shows them like, hey, you're gonna be safe, take my hand, let's go,
right?
Then maybe that can ignite a change.
Right. And it has.
Yeah.
Because I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Everyone knows, including my clients, it's a daily practice for me. It's my only opportunity to ground. I'm a single parent, so that is the time that's just for me. And as well as being a therapist, right? We exchange a lot of energy. So I need to have time to ground my energy, which is why I love yoga so much. But again, I really appreciate you. So beautiful. Everything that you had to say resonates. So I so appreciate you joining me. I've been trying to track you down. I'm so glad I got you.
I will say, by the grace of God, one thing that this 1 year has shown me is that I am walking in my purpose. I left corporate America behind, and doors are opening for me. And so it's been a beautiful thing. And that, unfortunately, is why I've been a little bit busy. But, I'll always take the time out for the people who matter and things like this that matter.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate you.
Yes.
Anything else we should know before we wrap?
Absolutely. I am promoting my fasting program. I had it slated for fall. However, I would like to wait until I have a good amount of people, at least 20 people who sign up. Fasting has helped me so much with mental clarity, my spiritual being, as well as getting closer in my faith. I think it's important for, once again, getting into self-care, people to understand the beauty of fasting and what it means. Not just fasting with food, but fasting with alcohol, fasting with certain vices in your life. I want this group to be one that's supportive, where we're understanding each other. The group is meant to have, we're going to get into a lot of different things, from journaling, talking about our feelings, which is very, very important. And so if you're interested, follow me on Des Seas Diamonds. That's DEZSEAS, like the body of water, and then diamonds like the rock. That's an affirmation, because in the end, I want to be internationally known, and we want to get our wealth up.
Really,
yeah.
Speaking that into
Yes. I receive it. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. And that concludes episode 1 of season 2, Beautiful Minds podcast. This podcast is produced by Kopic, and that is all for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to premiere your second season.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.